So today we're going to look at the life of a man named Jacob. So here's Jacob's story. And from day one, from the very first day of his life, Jacob had identity crisis. He wasn't happy with who he was. He wanted to be someone else. Specifically, he wanted to be his older twin brother Esau. And we can see this from the very moment that they're born. We read the story in Genesis 25:24. And it says, when the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first was to come out red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob. When you first read it, it's easy to think to yourself, so what? What's the big deal? Well, let's take a closer look. You see, being born first in those days was a big deal. Because being born first means you came with a number of perks. The first perk is what's called the birthright, which basically gives the firstborn a double inheritance. And their dad Isaac is very wealthy. So we're talking a lot of money. Esau is going to get way more money than Jacob, just by being born a split second earlier. That's the first perk. The second perk is something called the blessing. And the blessing is actually a legal transaction, where the dad on his deathbed would literally transfer leadership and authority of the whole family and all that it owned over to the firstborn. So being born first was important, and Jacob would spend the first half of his life just furious that he didn't pop out of the womb first. Furious he wasn't the firstborn. Furious he wouldn't get the birthright. And furious he wouldn't get the blessing. On top of that, he had identity issues, and these intensified because he and Esau couldn't be more different. These guys are kind of like chalk and cheese in terms of personality and their interests. And actually, as they grow up, it starts to create a divide in their family. In verse 27 and 28, we read, the boys grew up and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was a quiet man, staying among the tents. Isaac, who had taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So there's this outright favoritism, and Jad loves Esau more than Jacob. You see, he's an outdoor type and a hunter, and he's rough and tough, and actually he's just like his dad. And Jacob, in contrast, is a quiet man who remained among the tents. In other words, when the men were out doing manly stuff, Jacob is at home with mum. He's like a mummy's boy. So the important thing to realise is this. Since day one, Jacob wished he was someone else. He wished he was Esau. He wished he was first. And on top of that, he's got a dad who's telling him, I don't love you as much as your brother. Do you know that family situation? We made a great episode on the Jeremy Kyle show. Simply put, Jacob wished he was someone else. And it's easy, isn't it, for all of us, however much we try not for it to be the case and we deny it, to wish we were someone else. We've all done it. Maybe we're doing it now. Those moments that we go, if only I looked like she did. If only I was bigger or skinnier or taller or shorter. If only I was more outgoing or maybe less outgoing. If only I were more like that person. And maybe I'd be happy. And maybe life would just be better if I were just like someone else. So that is Jacob's situation. From day one, he's got an identity issue. He wishes he was someone else. Even his name is rubbish. Remember in the passage, the first to come out was red and his whole body was like a hairy garment, so they named him Esau. When his brother came out, with his hand grabbing Esau's heel, he was named Jacob. But that phrase, he grasps the heel, was a cultural one that meant liar and deceiver. They named their kid Liar and Deceiver. How great's that? What's your name? Oh, I'm Jacob, but you can call me Liar and Deceiver. Someone who pretends to be something they're not in order to take something that's not rightfully theirs. Someone who creates a fake version of themselves, who wears a mask in order to get ahead. And when Jacob can't take it anymore, then he actually lives up to his name and he becomes a chronic liar and a chronic deceiver. You see, after years and years of sitting in this jealousy and bitterness and insecurity and anger, he finally takes matters into his own hands. First time we see this in a big way is when Jacob manipulates Esau into trading his birthright, his double inheritance, and he does it to swap for a meal. You can read about it in verse 29. We don't have time to go into that part of the story today, but you get the point. Jacob is becoming deceitful and he's a manipulator and he tricks Esau. So that's the first time we see Jacob deceitful. But it gets much worse. So if you fast forward the story, eventually Dad Isaac is on his deathbed, and that time he's also blind. Any day now he's going to die. So he calls the firstborn in to give him his blessing. So Isaac sent Esau away to hunt and get ready for a party. And while he's away, Jacob and his mum take advantage of the situation and they actually trick his dying father, who's blind, into giving him the blessing. And so he literally wears a costume. He dresses up and he wears a mask and he becomes someone he's not. He puts on Esau's clothes so his blind dad will smell Esau. And then he covers his hands and his neck in goat skin and goat fur, just in case his dad reaches out to touch him. He won't feel smooth-skinned Jacob, he'll feel hairy Esau. So Jacob is all decked out. He's got a fake version of himself on. He puts on a mask, like so many of us have done, and he walks in to steal his brother's blessing. Here's what happens in Genesis 27:18-27. He went to his father and said, "My father." "Yes, my son," he answered. "Who is it?" Jacob said to his father, "I'm Esau, your firstborn. I've done as you've told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may give me your blessing." Isaac asked his son, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" "The Lord your God gave me success," he replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Come near so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not." See, right off he can tell something's wrong. So he says, "Who is it? What's your name?" And Jacob replies to his father, and he says, "I'm Esau, your firstborn." You see, when Dad asks, "Who is it? What's your name?" Jacob replies with a fake version of himself. He replies by saying, "I'm Esau." Now just store that away in your brain. We're going to come back to that later. To make a long story short, it works. Dad gives his blessing over to Jacob. Jacob lives up to his name. He's a liar and a deceiver. Not long after, Esau comes back from his hunting trip. And he discovers what's happened and he starts weeping out loud. He charges up to Dad and he just says, "Just take it back. You gave your blessing to the wrong one. So give me the blessing. It was mine to begin with." But by now it's too late. You see, you've got to remember that what has just happened between Dad and Jacob was a legal transaction. The contract has been signed. It's too late to take it back. And Esau responds exactly like you'd expect him to. He becomes murderously angry. And so he thinks to himself, if I kill Jacob, not only will I feel better, but the birthright will be passed back to me. So the Bible says that Esau starts consoling himself with thoughts of killing Jacob. Jacob captures wind of this, so he chooses the only option left to him. He runs away. He takes off to a distant place. He stays with an uncle and he gets married and he builds a family and he settles into a life of hiding. Jacob's story. He wanted to be someone else. He thought he could make himself complete if he had something someone else had, his brother's blessing and inheritance. So he pretends to be someone he wasn't. He wore a disguise. Perhaps, though, the worst thing of all was that when his father asked him who he is, "What's your name?" Remember, his name Jacob means liar and deceiver, and that's exactly what he became. He said to his father, "My name's Esau." Well, we've got to ask ourselves, it's an interesting story, but how does that relate to us? What has that story got to do with us today and who we are and our identity? I doubt many of us have gone as far as Jacob, pretending to be someone else. But I wonder if we're always who we want to be. Are we always completely happy with who we are? Let's go back to Jacob's story because I think it has a lot to tell us. Fast forward again. After years and years of living in hiding, God finally speaks up and he tells him, Jacob, go back home. Go back to your family. I'm going to take care of you. I promise I'll keep you safe. So Jacob reluctantly starts to make his way back home. And he gets close to the camp and he sees his brother Esau in the distance. You've got to remember last time he saw his brother, Esau was ready to kill him. So Jacob is rightfully terrified. So the night before he meets Esau, Jacob is at the campfire alone again. And in the middle of the night this happens, and we read about it in Genesis 32:24. Jacob was left alone and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. Now we're about to find out this man that wrestled with him was God himself, in the form of an angel. Jacob doesn't know that yet. He just knows whoever it was that is fighting him is someone special. So he wrestles with this guy all night long. And at one point, Jacob's hip is wrenched out of its socket. He's in a ton of pain, but he won't give up. And as the sun comes up on this situation, he won't let go of him. And he shouts this at a stranger. He says, I will not let go unless you bless me. Jacob knows that whoever this is that has the power and the authority to actually bless him. And so he demands a blessing. And this is how the strange figure responds. It's God, remember. The man asks him in chapter 32:27, maybe I'll bless you, but what's your name? Wow. See, it's that question again. Who are you? Remember, Jacob has been in this situation before. It was years and years and years ago, standing in disguise in front of his blind, dying father. And the last time he was asked, what's your name, during a blessing, Jacob responded by saying, I'm Esau. I'm whoever you want me to be. I'm whatever version of myself you'll actually like right now. Dad, I'm your favourite, your firstborn, I'm Esau. Last time this happened, Jacob asked for his disguise to be blessed. And the result was that he was alone and afraid and unfulfilled. So what does he do this time? Well, I suspect if you've not heard the story, you've already guessed. The man, God, says, maybe I'll bless you, but what's your name? And Jacob responds for the first time ever with honesty. He says, I'm Jacob. And if I were not careful, we'll miss what just happened. What happened is Jacob took off the mask, stopped pretending he was someone else, and he asked for the real broken, messy version of himself to be blessed. God asked, what's your name? And he responded with honesty and transparency. I'm Jacob. Yeah, I'm that Jacob. I'm the liar and the deceiver, the sneak and the backstabber. I'm the secondborn, wearing the mask of the firstborn. I'm Jacob, and I'm a mess. And what's God's response? Well, the man, God, looks back at him and he says, no. You'll no longer be known as Jacob because I'm going to give you a new name. I'm going to call you Israel. Because of Jacob's honesty, because of his transparency, he says here, the real me, the liar and the cheat. And God's immediate response is this, no, you're not. Don't call yourself that. I don't call you that. I'm going to call you Israel, which is a name that means triumphant with God. So God basically goes, Jacob, you've been pretending, and maybe it's the only way that you've known to get ahead in this world, but with me, I'll show you what it looks like to be actually triumphant. There's no need to pretend anymore. He renames Jacob. He gives him an identity way better than liar and deceiver, and it changes the course of Jacob's life. He becomes Israel. He has 12 sons who become the 12 tribes of Israel. He becomes the father of a people called the Israelites, who are God's chosen people. Our theme over the past few weeks has been, who are you? And I wonder what you'd say. Perhaps you've been told things, both negative and positive, and maybe you've believed them. But is it really who you are? When it comes to God, you know he can't be fooled. He sees the real you. And the good news is this, even though he sees the real you, he still loves you. The truth is found all over the Bible. God demonstrates his love for us while we're still messed up and broken. Before we knew who God was, he sent his son to die for us, to pay a price we couldn't pay, which means simply this: God is in love with the real you. Who are you? Well, let me tell you today who you are. You're loved by God.